everything, but the recipient of the food stamp couldn't get nothing but what you could consume. So we on our way now. And when we paid him, we had some thousands left, plus grocery left. We rotated that grocery for 3 consecutive months. The 4th month, we had enough groceries not to go back to the wholesale. Guess what? We rich now. You know, when you pull $5, you rich. But we got some thousands of dollars in the bank now. But the key was together. See, we was teaching ourselves at that time what we can do together without even giving it any thought. So all of a sudden, after the 4th month, after that, now we got enough money not to make the down payment on a real supermarket. I'm not talking about a mom and pop store, and just have that one for sale right in our neighborhood. So we made the down payment on that, went back to the grocery. You know he glad now. He glad to stock it out for us. And then the neighbors went to buying from us. And man, within 3 months after we opened that grocery store, we had a laundromat. A second, it wasn't a complete supermarket, but it was close to a complete supermarket, and we had the gas pumps there. And from there, we went into fried chicken. We had 3 other, now we had 3 other business beside the major grocery store that we had. Then at this time, we wasn't paying ourselves because we know if we paid ourselves, we're going to run into a lot of trouble then, see. So we decided not to pay, but we didn't know. See, there's a number out there called a 501D, but we didn't know anything about this at this time. Yeah, D, 501c3 was what we knew about. But there was a 501D. That 501D says church and state is separated. So since we weren't paying ourselves, and now we had another reason really for not paying ourselves, because if we went paying ourselves, guess what? Them that was getting food stamps would have been cut off. So we had to hold it in that channel, but we didn't know what we were doing at this particular time. We were doing it right, but didn't know it, see. So this means they could stay on food stamps. And we're buying groceries from ourselves. So we're growing now by leaps and bounds. Now, I didn't know about the 501D, but we were living all in separate places, living over here and this one over here and this one over there and so forth. But we were working together and we were one in mind. Then the next thing was for us to purchase land and to start building our own houses. So we didn't build houses. We was getting ready to, but there's a storm came through Tuscaloosa at that time and so many motels. And what we know at the time, they built a shell and put the motels inside of that shell. And you could pull the motel out of that shell. So when we found out that, because so many of the motels had been damaged, we went up and bought about, I don't know, maybe 15 or 16 of them. Then we built a long shell, just like they built. And then we inserted these motel rooms in there. And the furniture and everything was in it. And now we're moving in the right direction without really knowing at this time what we were doing. But then we found out that Israel, after World War II, when they were released out of the prison camps, would no nation take them. That's how they end up where they are today. Even the United States turned them down. So they gave them a land that wasn't supposed to be able to produce that. But they were living like we were living because they lost their identity in the concentration camp. So at this time, we working together. Now we moved together. And there we call the place the Holy Land. It's what we named it, the Holy Land. And we owned our own place. Then our school came in focus because I feel that we need to educate our own children. And I know that we had been given 1 month for Black History. That's the shortest month in the year, February. So I figured, you know, if you can deal with your history 11 months and give me 1, then if that's fair, I can do the same thing if I'm in charge. So what happened then, I set out to school our own children, and I found the best at that time that I could find. That was ACE, Accelerated Christian Education. They were located as academy. They were just spreading then, but now they're not national, they're international, but they now headquarters in Louisville, Texas. It was a white group. And I tried to find the best I could. Even if I could have found a Klan school, I would have gotten some of their lady too. Because I want to know what made the clock tick. How come it's ticking? So when we couldn't afford now ACE curriculum, but I had to do it, whether we could afford it or not, because I wanted to know what's the difference. How come they so far ahead of us? And getting that, then where I could teach their curriculum, and Black history was a must. Was a must. So our children could understand our Black history is not lost. It's shuffled to the bottom of the deck. So when you get the deck, if you know how to shuffle, you can bring it to the top. So that's what we done. We understood the land now and everything, but now in Mississippi, we brought the complex here in Alabama. In Mississippi, we did not know, because we just having a good time shouting and everything going on, man, because we was doing good. But we didn't know at that time that the merchant had gotten together and told the wholesaler that helped us at first, if he continued to help us, if he sold grocery to us at the same price as selling it to them, he's putting us out of business. They got so many ways of putting you out of business. Don't fool yourself. We learned. So what happened was the delivery boy put one of our competitors' groceries on the truck first and put ours on last on purpose. So when he delivered our grocery, in that he just conveniently dropped our competitor's grocery order so we could compare prices, see. So, because he didn't know whether we go back and tell the boss what he'd done, that he'd lose his job. He didn't know, but he's trying to help us. So when we now got 6 businesses now, a grocery, and when we found out, the manager saw it and he picked it up out, and he just looked at it and he called for the secretary of the church and me. He said, I'm going to show you something. He said, look, let's compare our grocery order. And we looked, man, we were paying almost 1.5, not quite, 1.5 times for the same item that they were paying. So now I realize we in trouble. We don't own the grocery store. Ain't nothing we can do. So then I thought about the farm. Now, if you go talk to Black people about the farm, you'd be ready to run, have your hat in your hand, see? Because they've experienced so many, I guess, situation that it was unpleasant, working all year and people taking everything you had, and even your milk cow and everything else you moved from one plantation to another, so nobody wanted a part of the farm. So I explained to them, you know, that we selling farm products. And selling farm products, if we raise them, we would get more of a profit than we were. No deal, no deal. So they decided, at that time I told them we'd have to close the stores. I said, because there's no way for us to compete with the fellow down the street. He paying one price and we paying another. So we got together and decided that, so while we were deciding on the farm, they decided to give me an appreciation service, which I never let them do. But this time, I saw the good of it. because I need a tractor, see, but they wasn't gonna buy me no tractor, so they got ready to have a service, and one of the missionaries came to me and says, we better tell him because we don't want to get embarrassed doing something he don't know we're doing it, and then all of a sudden we're going to get our feelings hurt. So the missionary came to me and told me what they're getting ready to do. I said, fine, if you're going to give me the money and I do what I want to do. We said, yes, we'll do that. Yes. So they had to serve and they gave it to me. I was trying to get enough money for one tractor, but they gave me enough for two. So now when I say I'm buying 2 tractors, boy, now you talking about trouble. We thought you was gonna buy your car. We thought you was gonna get a new car. I said, I am. These tractors gonna buy me a new car and you all a new car. I said, the money that I put in a new car ain't gonna buy no tractor. So it wasn't easy fight now. So they seen, then I came to Alabama here and rented some land, the Federation. At that time, the government has putting a lot of money here at Epps, Alabama. They bought a lot of land and just laying up. And I leased the land from them, and reluctantly, they came on with me, and we started farming to go back to the grocery stores. And we started farming, and we planted our vegetables and so forth, and in the fall of the year, we gathered them, and then at night we went to the state, we went to Maryland, we went to Ohio, and we went to Michigan. We made so much money on just carrying produce. We had somebody that let the people know we was coming and so forth. We made so much money selling produce that we decided not to go back to the store. Then we looked for other groups that was in the inner city that could lease or rent, and the stores that we could supply them. Because we found out now in growing the produce, we now was in a position that we could employ ourselves and do what we want to do. So we started raising peanuts and selling peanuts, parching them, 25 cents bag. And we went all over the United States except Hawaii and Alaska in teams. But the key was keeping that money together. Keeping that money together. See, never, anytime we got ready to, well, you all have seen how the Mexicans live when they come here and how when they get ready to go back to convoys and so forth. They drive up to our place in a van. It might be 15 or 16 of them in that one van. But when they fill it up, you're talking about $30 with the gas. But in our case, when we drive up, if it's 15 or 16 of us, guess what? We got 15 or 16 cars. And each time we buy gas, it's $30 per automobile. Look at the difference there. But now this is what we were doing now, even before we even knew the Mexican was doing this. And when I went back to Israel, they called it caboose living. You probably heard of that. That is, they live together. They have one water bill, one gas bill, and one light bill. Now, we've united ourselves now, and at this particular time, we were staying together, and all they had to have a project in Arkansas, and every time somebody would come along, this is during just the civil rights era, just at the end of it, they would give a cow and a hog to this family and so forth, but when they got to us, they wouldn't do it because we were living together. And living together on our own farm and that and so forth, they'd had to give us 2 herds of cattle, 2 herds of hogs. So they wasn't going to do that because that's freedom. This is how I went back to the Abraham Lincoln thing, and I said, well, now, he would have given us, he didn't lie, he would have given us the 40 acres and the mule, but somebody in his cabinet told him, don't do that, they think they're free. Now, because they're no longer under the master's thumb. But if you give them that, that's going to complete the freedom. See, you work for freedom. See, I mean, it isn't a thing. That's remind you all. I'm just tickled here, you know, because once you get together and get a taste of freedom, you become Geronimo. Then you're ready to stray away from the plantation. You're ready to fight for the land that you lost. You've heard sometimes the ministers say, we want to take back what the devil took from us. See, what the devil took from us was land. See, when you get the land, there are so many things that you can raise: the pecan trees, the apple trees, the pear trees, the farm, everything you need. Now, in farming, let me just step back. We know the importance of being able to get the best return on your dollar. If you're going to farm, you can't get the best return on your dollar by selling your animals on feed. See, because he can't afford to give you really what they're worth. Because of the fact he got to slaughter them, he got to package them and bring them. So then in order to get the best return on our farm animals, we had to own the packing house. That's a slaughter piece. So now, what we done there was we bought two. One was state plant, and the other we're going to turn into a federal plant. Federal plant means we can cross the state line with our product. So this is now, we've been carrying vegetables and everything into these states. Now we can carry meat. And our thing was trying to get some group to set up the supermarket in the area where we could supply them with the farm on consignment. You sell, we bring it, you sell it, give us our, whatever your markup is, that's yours. But you sell it first, then pay us, because we're in position then to help our people. And we had a couple of bad experiences. I ain't going into that because that don't mean nothing now. I'm trying to stay as positive as I possibly can. So we then had to not only, they would not, our people would not set up the supermarket. Them that set them up, we carried the produce, the meat and everything, and guess what happened after they sold it? Well, you got it, you hit the nail on the head. They kept everything. Now, we had purchased at that time, well, we didn't, some of them we raised, but I'd say I had 1,100 steers. And they ready to go to the market. They running 10, 15, 1,100 pounds. And all the groups that were supposed to rent or lease or buy the supermarkets, I don't know what happened, but they wouldn't do it. Now then, we got to go back in the meat business because we could not afford to sell these choice animals to A&P and Kroger and no one else because we was trying to promote our people. That's what it's all about. And that our dollar would spend the night or the day in our neighborhood. Now, so then we had to go in the meat business, which we didn't want to go into because we spread too thin. Now we farming and we can't get nobody. Throw them up the meat market. Now, mind you, we got the trucks now. See, we got the rolling stocks. This is the next thing we had. We got the refrigeration units. We did all of the legwork. We did everything, and all we needed somebody to do was to understand what we were trying to do. And that was to work together, the country and the city. The city can't raise tomatoes, they can't raise, but the country can. But that's where the consumers is. But you can sell them. So then we found ourselves out there by ourselves. Now, the reason we have our own communities because we can control our dollars. See, the blacks can't control their dollars because they don't have a dam. See, when back during the days of the cowboys, the Western, the man that can control the water controlled everything else. That's right. Because see, when he dam up the water, that means your stock and so forth, you couldn't get no water. So you had to sell at his price. So now, with our communities and our businesses, see, when you go in our businesses, you're going to find our money will circulate in our neighborhood. That's how we grow. That's how we expand. But you got to have, all right, the government will build a project in a minute, but they ain't going to build you no supermarket. They ain't going to build you no clothing store. The other fellow going to get that. So that means your dollar isn't going to spend the night in your neighborhood. It's got to go into another neighborhood. I'm not against McDonald's. I'm not against Burger King. I'm not against Wendy. I'm not against Subway. I'm not against any of them. But the money that you spend go to the headquarters, district headquarters. And from there, it leads your neighborhood. That's what Walmart, I'm not against Walmart. That's what he do for us. He come in and he knows the product. I believe you spoke about a while ago. See, most of the product that he gets, surely he'll exchange it because he know it ain't no good when you get it. So he can afford when you go back to give you another and moving on, see. Now, it's our dollar though. See, unless we come up with a way to control, when you see our shopping center, you can see we bought the shopping center that Walmart moved out of because we thought at that time the ministers were ready to come in and put in a strip mall to start businesses so we can employ our own children. You see, it's foolish for me to send my child to school to go to work for someone else.
Absolutely.
So who I'm sending him, I educate him so he can get a good job. Then what happened? Who he's working for, the fellow's got his foot on my neck. So he helps to continue, push me in the background. So our neighborhoods cannot move forward because our offspring leave and go work for someone else. So to put that's why school came in for us, because they educate them. I want to educate them to come back into the neighborhood, create the job for them, so that they can help us get where we, yes, sir. Well, give me an hour and then call back.